Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation, what is sensorality? Actions speak louder than words, right? A cliche overall in general, conceptually what we're doing is we're deriving cliches and we're connecting them. Once we get our concepts in the right order, the linguistics will literally be, or not, it will be trivial, almost said irrelevant. The point being, again, all of these steps I'm showing you are effectively not relevant. And so, like when I derive speciality, like I said, the initial conditions existed to be solved. Meaning there's a bunch of people running around in physics saying, oh, string theory, oh, quantum mechanics, oh, general relativity. There's a bunch of people running around in computer science saying, oh, P, NP, whatever else you do in computer science. There's a bunch of people running around in mathematics saying, oh, what is mathematics? Oh, it's thematics, guys. It's right there. It's spelled right on your screen. But point being is there was data to consolidate, to show the consistency within. And then once I reduced speciality, which was introduced as infinite uniqueness, and that logic, that concept was contained within the word speciality. So again, overall, all we're doing is demonstrating that words have meaning. And so point being is when you see, if science is ever acknowledged globally, which doesn't seem likely, but there's no lecture videos for speciality because the logic is entirely contained within the words. Words do have meaning. And so all of these lectures are effectively irrelevant once we arrive at this stabilizing syllability, a sequence of letters that shows the iteration sensorality is, and then in the same way, speciality is special with an ITY. You kind of come full circle logically. But all of that logic is contained within the words. And so after speciality, this whole sensorality derivation is entirely and holistically, logically within the framework that I've introduced, but it's not even me introducing it. It already existed. You might be able to, again, intuitively establish something with a different analogy, with a different example, but it's the same logical structure. And so since speciality, it's just purely, again, it's one derivation. So that was a refresh, restart, and that's hopefully we get there soon with sensorality. But it's a complete derivation of a physical axiom. Actions speak louder than words. Words represent actions. Variables are representations. Representation is symbolic. Sensorality is symbolicality. Variation is variable. So this morning when we were talking about the geography of Africa and the Sahel region being ariable, right? And you'll typically, again, variable, right? You take off the V, and then you have ariable, A-R-I-A-B-L-E. And then if you have an arable land, it's typically, again, not ariable, but arable land, you take out that I again. Whatever that I is still just jumping around all over the place. But like farmable agricultural land, we'll say arable. Again, not even like A-I-R, just A-R-A. And again, linguistically, it always just jumps out at me. It always sticks out like a sore thumb. What is push to through? And last time I even said it instinctually, right? You push through or you punch through. But, right, a breakthrough is a punch through. A break is not through, right? If you go through a system, or if you go through an object, like it's the same, it's one system, right? If I were to, punch myself to go through me, the form of my stomach would still have to be there and my fist would have to go like through my body. So when you break something, there's no longer an internal part of that system, right? If you break something, you're not really going through. So the word breakthrough is, again, very clearly linguistically, you just break and through stuff together, but logically it doesn't really make any sense. It's not distinct, it's not well defined, because a break is not through anything. And again, conceptually, when I derive speciality through, you have to like think through the logic, was kind of how it presented, but I just write down anything that's relevant to the derivation. And so with I also, again, when in relevance to or relation to the video I made about academia research, the different levels of mathematics, truly inevitability of monopolization is also a very clearly defined mathematical level, I guess you would say, because you become the fundamental you effectively own education. Like all of these steps that I'm showing you are independent of me, But there's only one basis. There's only one foundation, right? Everything else differentiates, but proof by logical exhaustion is there's nothing left. And so true inevitable economic monopolization, because you've created more value than money could represent, is a very clearly defined mathematical level. Again, that's one of those levels above anybody you've ever seen before, but certainly profoundly trivial. But again, after speciality was like, again, consolidating all of the knowledge. There was stuff to solve. And then sensorality is building and iterating that entire structure again, because there's just nothing else to do. Complexion is tone. Complexity is deep, right? Like, I keep, again, intuitively, whenever someone says that's a deep thought, or that's, insightful, or again, the concept of this is deep or complex has just always struck me as intuitively they're thinking something, and that complex has meaning and deep has meaning, and neither of which apply. But again, the symmetry of deep, right? The E is clearly repetitive, and the D and the P are these some sort of reflexive symmetry. But sensorality is plexity, right? Complexity, again, it's trivial to see these different prefix and base words that are established linguistically, and then you ask yourself, what's plexity, right? I have plexiglass, but again, it's just all of these words are formed around physical objects, physical processes, and then they're related to each other because we all use the same sounds, and there's a set amount of them. Surfacing is the opposite of deepening. Are paradigms dilemmas? Routines. And now here, dilemma is another one of these words where poignant enough to, again, explicitly talk about the structure, right? In mathematics, lemma, right, is a very ontologically specific word. And then dilemma is a word that everybody uses, very much more readily frequent in everyday conversation or going about your day. And so what is the relationship of a lemma and a dilemma? Again, with a DI obviously functioning in there, but a dilemma is a predicament. Gravity never pushes. I just made a little short video, right? All force is a push or a pull. Again, our fundamental dichotomy of two once again, but gravity is always pulling, and it never pushes. Gravity is grave. Sensorality is gravitationality. And now the GRA is functioning as a prefix. Sensorality is vitationality. Sensorality invites, right? Vitation, invitation. Sensorality is inviting. Sensorality is invitality. Sensorality retaliates. How does gravity relate to rhythm? And again, specifically, what is gravity? It's a force. Well, then it's a shape. Then it's the shape. It's a word. It's VIT. It's grave. But it's geometric. Right? Gravity is geometric. And so rhythm physically regulates geometry, right? Because you're sitting there vibrating. And again, vibration goes into rhythm. And again, vibration is this concept we have. It's a cycle without work, but you can't return to the same starting point. So you're always doing work. All systems have some level of inefficiency. Everything is in motion. Everything has temperature. And so rhythm regulates geometry, gravity is geometric. Gap, gasp, grasp. Gripping, grasps. Sensorality, grasps. Understanding is grasping. Desperation is grasping at straws. Connection is continuous. Sensorality is continuosity. Chefs cook. Authorities censor. Sensorality is authoritality. Sensoralities are authorities. So now again, I don't know how to, but I have this intuition again, the O, again this O, it's like curiosity, authority, or it's like this, there's some even like phonetic nuance going on with the pronunciation, going from an O to or, like a higher tone or something. But again, none of the stabilizing, all of the logic will be contained once we find and establish the unique pairing of sensorality to its functional word. And so differentiation is for speciality, sensorality contains speciality, And there's no point to conjecture. It's just once we get to the point in the derivation, it will show the direct iteration, which again, the word form science team already has. It continues to be profoundly illegal, profoundly stressful. You've ruined my entire life, my entire existence, and I own education, very literally. So continue to commit crimes, no day gets better, and each day gets worse. And history doesn't say, here's a big time to stop being stupid, but here's be a really good time to stop being stupid. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you on the next one.